at HuffPost. Kevin, Laura, thanks both for staying with us. Right, where are we going to start here? This is inside The Observer. Keir Starmer saying he's going to fight to lead his party into the general election and beyond, Laura, is that right?
Yeah, so looking at another sort of 10-year project here, so we are all waiting for tomorrow to see what the big reveal is. I think, you know, for it to be a success, the PM needs to really come down with some retail policies, what he can and his government can do to help the electorate that are struggling. In the article, it mentions some things about, you know, closer ties with the EU, perhaps a bit about cost of living, but, you know, we're all still pretty much in the dark, I think, and he needs to really grasp that if he's going to try and turn things around.
Yeah, well, he's under so much pressure, isn't he, Kevin? Massive losses in the local election. His own party seems to be turning in on him as well. And now we've got a potential candidate about to throw the hat into the ring to kick off a leadership contest. So what does he have to do tomorrow in this speech to turn things around?
I mean, honestly, I'm not sure if he can do anything to turn it around, because it's not just Labour MPs, it's the general public. Yeah. And you hear it again and again from Labour MPs out knocking on doors. He's just not liked. I mean, that's putting it mildly. You know, and I think once the public have this idea in their head that they don't like you as a Prime Minister, it is so difficult to turn it around. I mean, like, Labour MPs will just say they've never encountered vitriol like it. You know, they'll say, well, you know, I quite like you, but I just cannot vote for that man. And I can never quite put my finger on it.
I was going to ask you to put your finger on it.
Yeah, it's... I mean, to me, he comes across as an inoffensive, you know, uncontroversial, quite boring man. But honestly, I think, U-turns, I think, they've gone down badly. Breaking promises, I think a lot of people think he's broken his promise. And sacking lots of people. Once things get difficult for him, he looks for someone to sack, and I think people don't like that.
And is the feeling that there were lots of promises that people will feel better off at some point, and they don't feel better off? Is that one of the key things? Yeah,
there's that, definitely. There's the promise, as we said earlier, the £300 off your energy bills, which hasn't happened. In fact, they've gone up.
So if he were to do that to help people out in their pockets tomorrow, or a promise to do that, would that make a difference?
Maybe, but the winter fuel payment thing, which they did U-turn on.
Yeah. That's where it all started.
That's where it all started.
It was an extraordinary decision, because it wasn't manifested.
Not at all. And they did it within about a week of coming in.
Yeah.
And that people just... That has really gone down badly with the public, and that's like we all say it's the original sin, and even though they've U-turned on it and it's not in place anymore, it's just like, well, you didn't say you were going to do it, and then you did it. You hammered pensioners. It was a massive mistake.
We just don't trust you. Taking office, it was incredible. I mean, as a Conservative advisor, what did you make of that decision? I mean, who would have been giving him the advice to do something like that at that time?
Well, his team around him, you know, individuals at the Treasury. I think, you know, they just didn't, I think of it retail. You know, knocking on the door, if you go and knock on the door of a pensioner, that's £300 is a big amount, right? I think of people in my family, and that's the one thing they say, what are the government doing? Obviously, not saying what they really said this time in the morning, but, you know, you need to think about that real-world impact.
Interesting.
Let's move on to some of the other steps that Keir Starmer has made. On the front of the Daily Star, we've got the headline, "Gord help us," referring to Gordon Brown, who Keir Starmer has brought back in to act as an advisor, really, isn't he? Yeah,
he's on global finance. That was a really left-field appointment yesterday. No one saw that coming, and it came just after, within an hour of him giving a job to Harriet Harman as well, so another figure from the last Labour government a way back when. So, again, people were looking for fresh ideas, and Labour MPs saying, we're looking for them to tell us where we're going to be going in the future, but this seems to hark back to the past, and it's bizarre, really, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the write-up around it is just extraordinary. Hated PM recruits hated former PM to save his job. Unpopular Prime Minister brings back unpopular former unpopular Prime Minister.
Yeah, that's true.
And I know we're going to move on to talk about the Welsh result in a moment, but just to talk more kind of broadly before we do, what do we make of this challenge by Catherine West, who is saying to the Cabinet, she's sort of laying down the gauntlet to the Cabinet, saying, you know, either let's agree a person to replace Keir Starmer, or I'm going to put my hat in the ring and get the contest started. What do you make of it?
Yeah, well, that was it was a pretty remarkable day yesterday. You had the Brown and Harman stuff in the morning, and Catherine West out the blue yesterday afternoon, announces that she's going to challenge Keir Starmer if the Cabinet don't get there first. And I think it took everyone by surprise, not least the leadership rivals, Angela Rayner, Streeting, Andy Burnham. I think that it, as I say, completely out the blue.
Well, Andy Burnham's people won't be happy.
Well, they're furious because he's not even an MP, so they don't want a leadership contest until later in the year when they hope he'll be an MP again, or else he can't run.
Well, and it would chime neatly with party conference season as well. So if you think of that optically, the big kind of reveal, on the stage, but also having that time for the membership and the unions, etc., to be fully involved during the summer.
So do you think we will get a leadership contest now because of Catherine West's intervention?
Yeah, I think so.
Happen?
I think you think of a seesaw, we're tipped the other way now.
Roll, yeah.
You can't go back, and she's that stalking horse. And we were sort of chatting in between, who is she the stalking horse for? There's two names we thought of, but...
Well, there's also all dark conspiracy theories, or maybe West Streeting is in some way behind this because... so he's not seen to be the one plunging the dagger.
She said she's got about 10 supporters. Wouldn't she have more if it was West Streeting's stalking horse? Or?
Yeah, well, perhaps. Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, but Labour MPs are saying as well. Well, if she's the only show in town at the moment, just to get the leadership contest going, they will back her, and then presumably she would drop out. But, I mean, who knows? Everything is just so up in the air now.
Yeah.
So let's go to Wales, shall we?
Yeah.
A story inside the Sunday Times which focuses on the extraordinary defeat for Labour. I think, is it 9 out of...
Yeah, 9 out of 96.
96 seats now,
Yes.
given that they've been in power since the start of devolution, and a great victory for Plaid Cymru.
So I'm Welsh. I've always ever known this since 1999. So I think we could read the tea leaves. It was coming, but I think being down in the Senedd on Friday, seeing the results roll in, it was pretty seismic. And Welsh Labour, I think it's sort of pulled out their heart. It's hanging around, and because it's ingrained, right? It's the DNA. In the valleys there now no Labour representation. It's the party of Niren Bevan, Michael Foot, James Callaghan, etc. And it's gone. And I think the problem that Welsh Labour have had is they did not make the hay when the sun was shining, and I think it's can't really be pinned just on Eluned Morgan. It's need to look back at successive Welsh governments, and I think they're going to have some real soul searching. But for Plaid, they've been disciplined over several years. Messaging the group has been tight. They've worked on the policy. Saw that yesterday. The group on the steps of the Senedd. It's a complete change. It's a new dawn. To steal a phrase from Labour, but. It's exciting. I think there needed to be a change, but what that change actually translates to is now the big question, and Plaid are going to have to govern. There'll be a budget in the autumn, but how are they actually going to get people, the other parties to vote with them, because they are short of that majority. And when you look at, the UK now, you've got nationalist parties in all the other nations, so how is that going to affect working with the UK government? So I'm afraid to say I think there's going to be a lot of
friction.
Friction,
Tricky again.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had it in Scotland, obviously, for, 19 years, and the SNP won again, although short of a majority, which I think makes it more difficult for them to make a case for another independence referendum. But, yeah, if Labour think that, this is an aberration in Wales and that the voters will come back home as they might see it next time round, they might be in for a rude awakening, because that's what Labour thought in Scotland. And they've been out of power since 2007.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump ahead cheekily, just because we haven't really mentioned Reform, who are, of course, the main beneficiaries of this election. We've only got about 30 seconds, but Laura, in front of the Sunday Express, they're saying the best is yet to come, presumably quoting Nigel Farage.
That's right, and now it's for Farage, and all of his candidates are now elected across the UK to show what they're going to do, how they're going to actually deliver for the people, and it puts them on notice, I guess, in terms of having that record of delivery as we look towards the next election. So really the screws have been turned for him.
Absolutely. All right, Laura, Kevin, thanks so much for
that. Lovely to have your company.
As always. And thanks for being with us. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with your headlines. Stay with us.
We're trying to see as much as we can.